It's Real, Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Live and in color on Sportsnet's YouTube channel, Sportsnet Now. You're downloading, it's iTunes, Spotify, and of course, Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, David Sispoon-Bonds, Sammy McKee, along for the next 2 hours. Leafs in Colorado last night, March Madness today. I think there was an upset, Virginia going down to Furman. Now you can hold a gun to my head and say, tell me where Furman is right now. And I'm like, nah, pull the trigger.
You could ask me a lot of questions about Furman, and I'm taking the bullet on that one. I am a sports guy. Like, I'm not just a hockey guy. I watch all the major sports league. College basketball, I don't got a chance. There's too many teams, too much going on.
Sammy, where's Furman?
I'm just Googling. I don't know. It's Furman. You know, they play in the Southern Conference.
Of course. Southern one.
Their team is called the Paladines or the Paladines. South Carolina, Greenville, baby.
All right.
There you go.
What was your Furman answer off air?
It wasn't even the OJ trial. That's the only thing I know about that word.
So
they might have cheated then.
Very possibly, yes. That's right, he was the officer.
So I play in my normal Thursday morning skate every day.
You played hockey today?
Yeah, I do. I play every Thursday morning.
Shoot any in the net?
No, I suck so bad, man. Holy. But so it was March break, right? And so there was a lot of guys who were missing. A lot of people were on vacations or whatever. Yeah. So the guy who organized the skate, Greg, he brought out some of the kids from his team that he coaches.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're like 16 years old, and they're good players or whatever. But
they're all like Kerfoot.
No, they're good. They're
just
good
like
players.
Water bugs out there.
No, they're just
slow down.
No, they're like they weren't flying around.
I'm complimenting Kerfoot here.
They just had they had good respect. They played the game the way you'd want a 16-year-old to play at like a old guy skate.
Yeah.
But I was feeling old, boys, and I know that you don't want to hear me say that.
I don't know.
But like it felt like literally just yesterday I was playing with my dad's buds when 100%. I was the kid, and it's just like, oh my God, how am I the old guy now?
Isn't it crazy though, being on this side of it now, how much you feel like as a 16-year-old you felt really tough. You feel like you could grab pretty much any one of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it's
definitely. But yeah, they're one of the guys. Dad's plays with us every Thursday. Great kids. They're passing around. They weren't hogging the puck. It was
That's
good.
Great.
It was really good. So I had
at my age.
Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. I'm not trying to make myself feel old because I'm not that old, but it did. God,
I tell you, I drove my kids. We went to Great Wolf Lodge a couple weekends ago, and I'm sitting in the driver's seat, being like, "How am I the one in this seat?" Like I've been in that seat.
Yeah, I was just there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I suck so bad.
Stellick will join us in about 40 minutes, and a new guest in the second hour.
Has he been on
Sid
Sportsnet before?
Seixeiro.
Oh,
guys, remember Sid before he became a breakfast television star?
I do.
On Sportsnet.
He had some success in this business.
Tim and Friends. Remember?
It used to be called Tim and Sid.
And now he is Mr. Coffee.
He's worldly.
He is worldly.
He's got a global view of things more important than sports.
I love it.
We're bringing him back.
Come back to the dregs. Let's talk sports.
So the host of Breakfast Television will join us at 4:15. We got a great show for you today. As far as the Toronto Maple Leafs, they drop a tight one to the Colorado Avalanche in a shootout. Last thing I said to you guys ending yesterday's show is that
ton of goals.
Anything but.
Yeah.
So good goaltending, a tight hockey game, which I think, again, can benefit the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know they weren't on the right side of the shootout, but a lot of signs still pointing to playoff type of hockey last night.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. Because, there's still a part of me that is a little concerned about the offense, that since they've made all these trades, they are generating considerably less, I think, offensively. But they do look much more like you would expect a team that wins in the playoffs to look. They check. They're on the right side of guys. They're physically involved. It's the Colorado played a really good game last night, and the Leafs hung in there pretty well. If they win in the shootout, we're probably talking more glowingly about it. I thought a pretty decent game.
Sammy?
Loved Samsonov last night.
Got to be maybe his best of the year.
It's in the conversation. I just thought good Samsonov is so tantalizing, where he looks big, he's solid, he's not overcommitting, he's just big and solid in the
How
net.
about that one he came out to like the bottom of the circles to take away an attempt in the slot?
It was Nikushkin. He went try to go low blocker, and there was just no room.
Nikushkin could have won the game like 5 times yesterday. He just wasn't sharp. Just couldn't finish.
Finishing, yeah.
But give Samsonov some credit here.
Yeah.
Especially on the shorthanded breakaway, too. That one was a game changer.
Yeah. So how does that affect the greater picture for you? Does it just kind of solidify where you were already? Or
do you want to get into Samsonov right now, or you want to
we do this every show? We're like, should we start with the goalies? Or do we want to start with the goalies?
No, let's start with them.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay, let's carry that on. Let's just hear from Sheldon Keefe on Samsonov, and then we'll pick it up from there.
Plow ahead.
He was locked in. Again, I don't think we gave up a ton in terms of like high quality chances. There was a lot of stuff coming from the points in the perimeter. But anything that we did give up on the slot or whatever it might have been, he was set. He looked really athletic and dynamic. With some of the saves he made with his hands. So yeah, I thought he was excellent. In a game in which there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for the goalie to really shine. I thought he was still a standout in the game for us.
That's got to be more fun for Sheldon than coming out and saying, I know the numbers look bad again, but he was actually good.
Yeah. I think a number of reasons for me is that he got a chance to kind of reset a little bit again, which I'm not sure speaks to long stretches where he just may need time.
Yeah.
In between games. Maybe that's more Matt Murray coming in and alleviating that. But clearly, with Matt Murray coming in the last few games, he was able to kind of get things restructured, reset with Curtis Sanford, and I think it showed last night.
Yeah, so what do you think the right amount of games? As you're talking, I just wanted to look up games played. So his highest games played in a year is 44. He's at 33 now, so he's not going to surpass his all-time games played here in a season or anything, but how much is the right amount for this guy?
What do we have, 15 games left?
Yeah. The Leafs have
15. I think we are now at the point, and it was only like a few days ago, we're sitting there going, are they grooming Matt Murray to come back in?
Mm-hmm.
If anything, last night's effort said, that's not where this thing's trending. And if Sheldon wants to come out after this weekend and suggest that it's still open for debate, wouldn't that piss you off a little bit if you're a Leaf fan?
I don't know.
Yes.
I think Sheldon's best bet is to just not comment
No, I
on
said
it.
yes. That would piss me off.
Well, but hold on. I mean, if he goes out there and
Coach
says
Keefe,
it's
his
Samsonov,
mouth
they
shut.
got 13 games left, and
No, but
you want him to say right now, barring something changing.
I don't even think he has to say it per se. We'll know. I think we'll know by the starts and by his post-game comments after.
Yeah.
Right? Are they trying to get both these guys in a spot where by 2 days out of game one, we're still guessing who they could start?
I hope not.
I think Sheldon's going to earn his money here down the stretch with the goaltending situation, right? Because if you think from the different perspectives, the Tampa Bay Lightning are 3 points behind you now.
Yeah.
This is a real race for home ice advantage. And he has to now, they're talking about how great Matt Murray's been. So that indicates to me that he's going to get some starts down here, and they're trying to get him in shape and trying to get him sharp. But you have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Starting the objectively worst goalie in these games down the stretch, it could cost you home ice.
Good point, Sam. Yeah.
You got to be careful.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much.
There is so much that hinges on the performance of Sheldon Keefe from here on out. Like, I think you can make the case that he's been handed, I wrote this in an article that's coming out today. I did 3 sentences on every playoff bound team. My sentences for the Leafs were simply, like a chef on Chopped. He's kind of been handed all the ingredients, and the clock has started ticking, and he has to figure out the best combination of these ingredients. And, you need to start cooking at some point. and make it clear what direction you're going. You have to decide. And so the Samsonov Murray one, we're getting close. Like maybe he can make that decision in a bit. But some of the other stuff with the lines and the D pairs, I don't know how much time we have for tinkering and trying things before needing to go in a different direction.
But, yeah.
I get somewhat of a sense of urgency to also have Matt Murray ready here.
Yeah.
And again, you're right. Home ice advantage. Just think about the psychological effect it could have on this group that they've gone all season long. And then you took your foot off the gas pedal yet again, and you lost something you should have had for 90% of the regular season.
And I know it's regular season records or whatever, and it's hard to judge playoffs versus regular season in terms of performance. But Tampa is really damn good at home and average on the road. They're a below 500 team on the road. They're 16-16-1, and at home they're 24-6-5.
Wow,
you can't tell me as savvy as they are. You can't tell me that Cooper's going to completely take his foot off the gas pedal here and not acknowledge that I'd want it.
Sammy's right. That's a big swing. 24-6
huge.
versus 16-16.
I didn't even think it was that big.
Yeah.
And the Leafs are excellent at home, and I mean they have they've played one less game on the road than Tampa has, but they're 500 on the road too. It's a big swing.
And if Sheldon's leaning towards trying really hard here to get Matt Murray ready, even if it is in a backup position, like you got to cover your ass here. If Samsonov does not get off to a great start in the series.
Yeah, I agree that more than most teams, they feel they need two guys ready just in case, to say that I think they would switch pretty quick. In fact, I think if you got a bad game one from Samsonov, I think you'd see Murray in game two.
No.
I do.
If they're at home.
Yes, if they're at home. I believe that they think it's that tight for them.
I gotta watch.
Yeah.
I gotta watch game one.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to score from center ice for me to be doing that.
He's got to really falter.
Yeah.
I think to lose his game two. Did you lose in the third period? Are you down 3 Cobb in the first 12 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different story, but he's going to have to really poop.
And would depend how these next 15 games go. Like if it's like this the whole way where Samsonov's stellar, you don't want to quit on him after one game. But if Murray's really good and makes it a closer conversation, they may be quicker to go to him at that point. But it is, the worst part, Kipper, if they did drop out of home ice to Tampa, is it's not like Tampa's caught fire. They got 3 wins in their last 10 games.
I know.
So if
they're under 500 or they're right around 500 for
2 months or something.
2 months, January.
And so if you punt it away to a team that wasn't even playing well, it would not feel very good, I imagine, for Toronto. So yeah, some pressure to kind of keep things moving in the right direction.
And that's why I'm worried about starting a goalie who has been objectively not good for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Sheldon Keefe for Kipper's Clipper on the overview of the game, and we'll come out and discuss.
Both teams played hard. Both teams defended well. Not a lot of offense available. They were able to get one on the power play. We weren't able to get one on our power plays. That could have made the difference. But all in all, I thought two teams played hard. It was we didn't give up much either. They carried play a little bit more than we did, especially through the first 2 periods. We were maybe better in the third, but they pushed. We didn't crack a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot that we gave up. They didn't give up a whole lot. They checked extremely hard. They show you what a Stanley Cup winning team does in terms of the defending, the checking. I mean, they're well known for the offense that they can generate with their elite players, but they defend extremely hard and make it difficult on you to get to their net. So that's kind of how the game went. And then it's so close right to the end that both teams are not wanting to make the big mistake. That's kind of how it ends up getting overtime.
I will say it's nice that they didn't make the big mistake. It has felt like in years past they've been more prone to the Galchenyuk turnover, the Dermott turnover, just to bring up a couple
Kerfoot turnover.
It's felt like they've made the big mistake in past years. So nice that they got a team that doesn't seem to do that as much.
A couple of
McCabe missed by a millimeter.
Oh, yeah.
To put the game away.
He's got a nice little jump up timing.
two things that kind of stand out for me watching last night is that, as Sheldon alluded to, you're playing against the Stanley Cup champions, a lot of them.
Yep.
And, man, they didn't give you much room to come out of your own zone. Few icings. I mean, they were a little scrambly back there.
Yep.
So another example of what playoff hockey is going to kind of feel like for them, just in terms of trying to remain patient and hopefully you get your opportunity to win a hockey game. It never came.
But funny.
It did have to me a bit of a lingering a feel of a game 7 where you're just short, and didn't like that you couldn't generate a power play goal, which again kind of makes me feel like a little game 7-ish. No secondary scoring, kind of another situation. And it would have been nice if they found a way to win.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, the one thing to their credit that we had talked about earlier in the season is like that staying patient thing is something that they are at their worst when they get away from. Like when they press and they push up and all of a sudden there's a rush going back the other way. So there was a good amount of patience. I think the Avs had like 8 high danger chances or something. It wasn't that high a number all told. But yeah, no, it's finding a way through in the offense. This is the first year of all these Leafs teams where that's going to be a question for me, where you have a little bit more concern about, can they find a way to get the next one?
The other thing that didn't really like a lot is the amount of minutes Mitch Marner played.
Yeah, Matthews too.
And Matthews.
And Matthews was at 24, 25?
No, he's up near 27.
27?
Yeah.
And Marner just
29,
shy of under 30. And Sammy, we've had this conversation.
But that's absurd.
You want to put these guys out there that long, and they're subject to getting hurt. And last night, didn't really like seeing Mitch Marner slide into the boards. Didn't really like him blocking a shot in overtime. Like, think about that for a second. Liljegren gives up the puck at the blue line, and Marner has to feel like he's got to block a shot in game, number 67, and hey, say he breaks a finger, breaks a foot.
Not worth it. Not worth it at all. You know, but this is part of the whole goofiness around, hey, we've stunk in overtime, so now we're going to try to overthink it. We're playing David Kampf and Liljegren to start OT.
Can we cool that now?
Yeah, can we go back to the good players?
Yeah.
Like, I understand it was unlucky for a while, but it's not practically good in the sport to play your lower quality players consistently. Just a thought as a coach.
It reminds me of a golfer who, like, got over the yips, but is still doing the stupid cross-hand chip. It's like, you can give that up now. Like, your stroke's back. Like, you're looking fine. Like, you know, maybe just go back to holding the club regularly.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't need that anymore.
Maybe go back to the good way that you can do consistently.
Where's the newfound depth? You know, I get Ryan O'Reilly's not there, but
that hurts.
I mean, come on, you really need to push Marner 30 minutes last night?
Yeah.
Well, you have 11 forwards.
Yeah, that's part of it too, is the 11 forwards.
They want a double shift, and we saw a lot of that, and we saw
Nylander plays with them.
double shifting, and you can get your stars out there more, but still got 15 of these to go.
Yeah, and it's way too much ice time. You know,
He got asked about it twice, 2 separate questions today about the ice time at morning skate.
All right,
let's
let's go.
practice.
Okay.
Do you want to listen to him?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's listen to the first one on the ice time.
Not really. I mean, I'm monitoring it throughout the game, and you're just kind of replying to it. The reality is that's just the way the game went. You know, I mean, it was in a lot of ways a best on best type of game last night. You know, I think McKinnon and Rantanen, you know, they're 25 minutes, and those guys don't kill penalties. So, you know, that's a sense of where it's at. McCarr's at 30 minutes. It's kind of the way the game went yesterday, and also it wasn't, because of the nature of the game. It wasn't like it was an up and down grinding type of physical game. It was a little more methodical, and you know, teams trying to feel their way to try to get a chance. So I thought they could handle the minutes through the game, but it is important to give them the recovery time.
Yeah, so neither of them are at practice today.
Yeah,
Matthews or Marner.
That's the right
Bubble
call.
wrap.
Yeah, they're like, we saw Marner crash into the boards and block a shot. I think maybe crisis averted. Because he got hurt by, wasn't it Muzzin in practice?
Yeah.
the last time that he was hurt was because of Muzzin in practice. So
Hyperbaric chamber time for the boys.
Yeah.
You know, there are teams who are powered by their elite stars. And like, if you look at average ice time per game for forwards, like Marner plays less than McDavid and Draisaitl, less than Rantanen and McKinnon. You know, these guys, their ice time. Actually, Matthews is outside the top 25 in time on ice, which is maybe a reflection, not a positive one. But it's these weird bursts, isn't it?
Yeah, they go from like 22 to 30. 18,
you know, all of a sudden it's 28 minutes. And it is, I think that's worse than consistently playing them 23 minutes or 22. Like Marner averages just over 21 and something a game. I'd rather see him play 21 a game than 17, 18, 30, 17, 18, 4, 21, or sorry, 31. Like it's not healthy. So.
Do you have one more clip on it? Or?
We do. We have another one. He explains himself a little bit more, so we can listen to it.
It certainly gets to a point where maybe it can be too much, especially when you start to pile on the games that are coming after it. When you're in the moment, you're in the game. If it's your player, you want to get on. I mean, Mitch's minutes are climbing real high last night, but every time there's a stoppage in play, I can feel him looking back and looking at me like just to let me know that he's ready to go. And that's kind of what you get, and that's what you want. You like to see all the eyes looking at you like that and make the decision who's going to go out. So those guys take on a lot, whether it's special teams, 5-on-5, overtime, shootout. There's a lot there, so that's why you got to be mindful of their recovery time. But certainly, they do have the engines and they have the ability to take on those burdens and handle it very well.
The key is to make sure he's doesn't get hurt, man.
Yeah.
Just life without him would look awfully different for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Again, sets up the Morgan Rielly goal.
I mean, they lose. The whole thing is built on their four superstars playing. They lose Tavares to Montreal and they're screwed. Yeah. You can't lose any of them. But Marner, obviously,
you can lose Tavares. You can. I'm being serious. He wouldn't be half the loss of a Marner.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Come on.
But it would still be a huge loss.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, he's a point producer. Yeah. I get it. But as far as the engine's concerned, the playmaker, the guy that's putting it constantly on a silver platter for guys, there's only one guy they have that can do that.
And when he plays 30 minutes, there's more time to be hurt. I think maybe around 21, 22 would be fine for the rest of the year. You're asking me, but we've talked about this before. Like he said in that clip, I got the best player on my team looking over his shoulder, telling me to put me back on the ice, and you're trying to win a hockey game against a good team. It's hard to be like, no.
It's too tempting.
It is. It's too tempting. And same with Matthews, who played almost 27. It's like, well, this guy's feeling it finally. He looks good finally. Over the boards again.
The trick for him, too, is got to play big picture here, too, right?
Yeah.
More experienced coach still. I know he's been around now for a handful of years, but is he still feeling the pressure of, like we said earlier, maybe losing home ice advantage?
Well, sure.
Is that up against Sheldon right now?
I think that's when you're in the moment, like Sheldon's talking about. I don't think there's many shifts where you go, all right, I can't give him this one because of playoffs, or I can't. Or I need to get him over the boards because of home ice advantage. Like, I think to Sheldon's point, he gets consumed with trying to win the game he's in. And
how many minutes do you think Braden Point plays a night?
Oh, I'm going to guess, since we're talking about his lower, 20?
20?
1939 per night.
Yeah.
God, he's got
Look around Matthews.
43
Matthews
goals.
plays 20 minutes and 8 seconds a game.
Yeah,
and the guys around him are like
1 minute, like 5 seconds less per game than Kucherov.
And Tavares is what, 18, 17?
Yeah,
he's
I
17
don't have that in front of me at the very second.
Yeah.
But because he has games where he plays 15.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're a little more careful with him.
Today's Thursday. Wrote for the Toronto Star today on Morgan Rielly. I know we've had this conversation, but I just stressed in my article that you can find on my Twitter, Real Kyper, is the sense of urgency for this guy to find his game again and be that number one guy that they envisioned when they signed him to a $60 million contract. Got more of a feel of that. Is this now the start of Morgan looking like Morgan?
I sure hope so. Yeah, I mean,
I would like that very much.
But it is funny watching him play like he played last night and being like, oh, right. Like, oh, yeah. Like, that's what it looks like when Rielly's good, when he's skating. He made a defensive play at the blue line. You can see him kind of weighing his option. I'm going to go. And you see him jump up, and it's like, I do want him doing that. I do want him involved. He is a guy who's shown he can shoot the puck in the net at times. Nice to see him do that last night. He's back with TJ Brody. They got the D pairs today. They're looking at Schenn and McCabe playing together.
Yeah, he talked about it again. He's like, don't read anything into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I was going to make the point just that if you add Schenn and McCabe, it's basically like you looked at the old six you had with Sandin and Liljegren and said, what if our third pair was bangers? It's McCabe and Schenn now. And then the other two pairs can still be Rielly, Brody, and Gio and Holl, or Gio and Lily, or whatever you want it to be. I kind of like that as an option, but I do think that Rielly, in the end, gets Brody.
And
you mentioned
go back and forth.
Mentioned
So
Sandin
we
quickly,
assume
before I forget, 26-31 last night for Washington.
Didn't he get pulled
He
off
came
the
back.
ice with a
Came
bad
back.
knee?
He came back. He played the whole game.
Good Lord.
Anyways, continue.
So Brody and Rielly are your number one pairing. And who's the Leafs' second pair?
I guess your choice then is Gio and Holl or Gio and Lily.
Oh, don't tell me choice.
McCabe.
Who are your second pair?
Well, see,
Who's your second 20-minute pair?
well, the fact that I'm struggling with this is a good sign that there isn't one.
No.
But the fact that they have two third pairs that most teams would, go crazy to have, it's like a first and two third pairs, basically. And that's, to be honest, I'm humoring you when I say that because I think they're better than third pairs, both of those pairings.
Okay.
So second and a half maybe in my books.
Let me rephrase that. How many minutes would you be comfortable Luke Schenn playing in game one?
Great question.
Is he a 20? Can he play 20 minutes now with McCabe?
I don't know. What's he been getting with Quinn Hughes all year?
I would, if I had my dream amount of time that he would play, it would probably be in the 12 to 13 range.
Which third pair all day long?
Yeah.
12 to 13 is really low.
You think?
Yeah, you're barely using a guy in playoffs at that point. Like I know what you mean. I can see a 14, 15.
We're going to watch tomorrow night against Carolina. We'll watch against Ottawa from here on in. We're going to get more sample sizes out of Luke Schenn. I don't want to necessarily pigeonhole him in a 10 to 12 minutes. If you ask me off the top of my head, that's probably a comfort zone I'd be gladly happy with.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about 15 or 17, don't we have to see some situations here with his foot speed?
Yeah, like if you ask me about those pairs, and part of the reason I think it's difficult is like if you have McCabe Schenn, to me a McCabe is a second guy, is a second pair guy. Schenn's a third pair guy. So I don't really know what to call that pair. Gio, probably a third pair guy, right? But Justin Holl or Liljegren, I can see them being second pair guys. Like they're kind of in and about that range. You're right though. After you play that top line, that top pair a lot, someone's got to play another 20 minutes.
For
Yeah,
sure.
and it's going to be Justin Holl like it always is.
Yes. That's a good point, too.
Justin and who?
Holl like it always is. Like they
And
clearly,
McCabe.
Yeah, they love Holl.
That's why he says don't read into it.
Holl's on the outside looking in today.
They were a pair last night, McCabe Holl, right?
People hate Holl so much, and he's going to be.
I
the
find him
whipping boy.
a little edgier here. Last night,
He threw another big hit last night.
big hit last night.
But if we're all being honest with each other, you can talk about like, oh, who are they going to mix into the second pair? Who's going to be the second pair? It's going to be McCabe and Holl. And Holl's going to play 20 minutes a night in the playoffs against Tampa.
Justin Holl currently has the fourth most time on ice among Maple Leafs. So Rielly and Brody are 1 and 3. And then Holl's there number 4 ahead of Austin Matthews. He plays 20 and a half minutes per game on average, which means he often plays more than that.
Yes. And he kills penalties. He's on the ice for all their penalty killing. Like
Gio, plays 19:06. So McCabe came here as a 22-minute-a-game guy. He's played 18 and a half minutes. They've also had run 7D a lot.
And Holl was under 17, which...
Was that last night he was under 17?
Yeah, 16, 50 something.
And Holl will take a beating for like every game, playing against the other team's best players, taking cross checks, getting the puck out, and he'll make one bad play, and everyone will blame the loss on him.
It's so true.
That's what's
okay.
gonna
Let's
happen.
go
I've
to.
tried to defend him today.
I do too. Because anyways,
Let's go
Go
to a
ahead.
Sheldon Keefe Kipper's Clipper on Morgan Rielly and his night.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to really figure that because I don't think he's had the same jump in some of the previous games. This one he started that way. I mean, he rips one off the crossbar early on, and he jumps into that hole to get the puck to shoot it, and he jumps into same or similar hole on the second chance, which he makes good on. Mixes up the shot. First one's high and off the bar. Second one's low corner. So it was a terrific start for him. Not sure what you can really attribute it to, but that's what we need to see from Morgan in terms of jumping into those holes, kind of being that guy off the puck that can be a threat for us offensively. And I thought that he played hard and defended well as well.
I think we've wasted a lot of time talking about which defenseman can help Morgan Rielly out over the course of this year. And
good point.
It really has to come back to, no, that's not the way it works with these number one defensemen.
You
which
make
you
everyone
anointed.
better yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
And every guy on that team who's a defenseman should say, I want to play with Morgan Rielly.
Mm-hmm.
If I had my pick today on any pairing, why wouldn't I take the supposedly best defenseman, the highest paid defenseman, and make him my partner? Doesn't that make me on the number one pairing?
Yeah.
And that's where Morgan has to now still get his game, where he just says, I don't care who I play with. I'm going to make them better because that's my job.
Yeah. You know what it is? Like the guys who make other guys better tend to be really consistent and reliable. Like what you're going to get and what they're going to be. And TJ Brody is like, oh my God. We don't ever talk about him. We don't ever talk about him. He just does his job.
He plays 20 minutes a night for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we've never speak of him.
Who's the best D pair? Whoever's with Brody.
Yes.
Then so Rielly is a little bit more unpredictable. He can be run hot, run cold, and it's the reason he's 7.5, not 9.5.
I had a scout mention to me that he plays with a shorter stick.
Having never thought of that myself, I can immediately recognize that true. Just picturing him. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm sure that's right. I can see a lot of the way he moves.
I don't know factually if that's correct or not, but man, oh man, like you got some big boys out there, and if they've got a long stick, how can it not help you defend a little better? You know
who seems to use a really long stick, and this is, again, I don't know if it's actually true or not, but I feel like Liljegren has a really long stick. Like for a guy who's not big, he's got a decent range with it. I know D-Man always trying to add that extra quarter inch in practice, quarter inch, and just seeing how big they can go well comfortable. I was never comfortable with the
shorter stick. I always do the short stick.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
It's because we're bad and we need to control the puck.
Bingo.
On the topic of having jump, as we heard from Sheldon on Morgan Rielly, watching Austin last night, to me, was samples of the best he's looked for me all season long.
Yeah, the third period.
When that guy starts using his body the way he does, when he comes around the net, and I
know the one you're talking about on 43 there.
He's got that Peter Forsberg for me, that Yager that says, yeah, you're not getting this puck.
No, he's right off the bench and fresh, and it was Byram, I think, or Gerard, a smaller D, and he was just like, no, big brother.
That has nothing to do with his hand.
But you know what else, though? He cut in on that play, and you're going to love this because your boy Mitch was wide open on the back door. He could have slid it right over to him for a little tap in, and I was like,
that last night, he was pointless, right? He had 5 shots on goal. I agree that was the most encouraging night for me.
Right.
Cutbacks, control.
He looks strong, using his body. It's like, maybe.
That's your centerman who's a shooter.
Yeah.
A lot of centermen's, number one centermen's would have dished it off to Mitch.
I can't have this conversation again.
But that in itself, to me, is a great sign. If he starts now having that body image of a dominant player, regardless of what his stats are.
He actually went into a puck battle with McKinnon and blew McKinnon back off a puck and took control. So, those are really positive signs for the Leafs. There's good things happening there. Like I said, it's just how do you put the ingredients together now?
Do you guys want to talk about Colorado?
Yeah, I do. Your boy, Cale Makar there. Pretty solid effort.
Yeah,
30 mins.
He's all right.
Talk about controlling and influencing a hockey game.
Oh, yeah. Dictating it. The way he moves across the blue line is incredible.
Watching that game last night, like this is kind of a out there thought, but it was just like, can we please have a hockey tournament where all the best guys play for their country?
You just want to root for that guy as your own?
Yeah, but like you just look at all the skill on display in that game. It's like, you start on Colorado, Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar.
He's all good until like that Diaz goes down in a World Championship. Like, why are we playing this?
No, it's the World Baseball Classic is completely different. It's a crappy tournament that no one really cares about. It's like, oh, sure, these guys are passionate. There's like 4 good teams that could actually win. I guess that's kind of the same in hockey, but it's different in hockey.
Yeah.
And we haven't had it in 100 years.
Yeah.
Like you look at them. They have all those guys that could play. And it's like Marner's unbelievable. Matthews playing for America. Nylander. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Almost 4.
I did see signs at Colorado that said they would scare me if I'm any other team there, and that's without Landeskog,
Manson,
like
Lehkonen.
That's 3 outstanding, proven playoff performers.
The Western Conference, so I wrote that article today. I'm looking at the first place team in the West, the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas has the 28th ranked penalty kill, the 22nd best power play. They're 15th in goals. Like they're not that good. They're the first place team in the conference. You can't tell me Colorado, if they get everyone healthy, isn't instantly the runaway fave.
It is a big if. We had Arif Dean, who covers Colorado, on yesterday, and we talked about Landeskog. I'm not hearing.
That didn't sound like
I'm not hearing
imminent
good things about him coming back.
Yeah,
which would be, I think,
death knell.
Yeah. Still, you'd never want to underestimate Cale Makar and
that's the
McKinnon
thing.
and Rantanen, but
With the West being the way it is, like, could Landeskog be available in June? You know what I mean? Like, maybe he's not ready for April 17th, but if they can have some softer first-round opponents,
I think that's more realistic for sure.
Maybe he's a late playoff addition, which, look out. But yeah, let's listen to Keefe on Colorado's decor if we have that clip.
They're just up on top of you. They're uptight. They recover well. There's, you feel like you're in and you're going to get some space, and then they close the space. You feel like you're going to get pucks in behind them, and they get body position. They win the race. I thought the mobility of their defense was a real problem for us tonight in terms of getting through the neutral zone and getting on the attack. Similar as it was, against Buffalo the other night, but differently in terms of the mobility of their defense. And Makar plays half the game here tonight, and he's not giving you a whole lot. And then when he gets the puck on a shift, usually you're losing the shift. So that was a problem for us. But like I said, I thought we stayed with it. I thought that in such a tight game, we definitely had a shot here or there that could have been the difference for us. Even on our power play, I didn't love a lot about our power play, but in each of the ones we had, we did have one really high quality look on each and just didn't convert. So that's what the game comes down to, and in the end, they win the skills competition.
Yeah, I'm not sure the news will get any better for Josh Manson. Again, we talked to Arif yesterday, and it sounds like he wants to give it another try. He's been in and out of the lineup, which means he's managing something. He's trying to look after
avoid
something.
Surgery, but still play.
And exactly. And now you're never going to get it to a place where you're going to play every other night for 2 months.
Let alone as effectively as a guy who plays as hard as Manson does.
So, exactly. He's avoiding surgery.
This is your year.
He's avoiding surgery so he can try to manage something. But clearly, it's going to be one of those things where I don't think he'll ever be close to what he was last year for them.
Really? That's significant, eh?
That's significant.
Wow.
That's the rumblings anyways.
Yeah,
Quick big picture thought on Makar. If it was a fantasy draft where and everybody had first overall pick, second overall pick, and all the players are in the pool, where does he go? 2?
Like for pure playoff points?
No,
or
just
for points
just
in general?
to start a team. If you're picking teams,
David.
Oh yeah. No, he's. I think Makar is in my top. Yeah, he might be after McDavid.
Yeah, I think that's legit.
Yeah. He is probably my favorite guy in the league to watch. I love that Avalanche team. They are like, that's how you suck for a few years, you get a little bit of draft luck, and you're just they're going to be a dynasty.
Yeah, like what happened to the Sabres? We're a lot of those teams that sucked for so long.
The other thing I got last night, as we speak of Samsonov, Georgiev is capable.
He's good enough.
I think he's capable.
You saw enough.
I don't get the sense that is a thing that you're going to go into their first round and go.
Yeah. Oh, but their goalie is.
Yes.
I think he's a 917 or something. He's
listen,
good.
he may be horrible, but I don't see signs of that.
Respect to the Avs for being like, we don't think Kemper's that great. We can get someone that good, and then doing it.
Yeah. Respect to the Avs. End of sentence.
Yeah. Fair enough.
It's an awesome team.
Just like that. First block out of the way. Gord Stellick on the other side of this break. Leaf Nation pre and post. Always great having Gord Stellick on Stellictricity after these words.
is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Just having a chit chat. Catching up on life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
we're allowed.
weren't finished our discussion.
No.
Can we go to another break? JB and I were in a heavy discussion.
Discussing business. I'm going to become part owner of
Oh, we can't. No. We got Gord Stellick. We got Stellicktricity. We never, ever push aside Stellicktricity.
Never.
Gordo, where do we find you today, my friend?
Well, Kippy, I'm just, looking at Little Buddha display here at the LCBO, whatever, and just
Which Kippy owns.
Does my show drive you to drink?
That's it. No, so what's a heavy discussion for you, Kippy, with JB? Like, what was the discussion?
Well, listen, I'm at the end of my career. He's just at the beginning of his career. I'm telling him all the mistakes that I made.
Sage wisdom being handed down.
Well, you better take a break and hear more from Kippy. Kippy, man, hey, you know what you did really well, you and Heels, when you were riding high with the New York Rangers and won the Stanley Cup. That's when you guys were really media friendly, and you gained a lot of experience back then, made a lot of connections, right?
Oh, listen, if Glenn Healy can fool them, so can I. I've always stressed that. Gord, just give us your overall thoughts on, the Leafs falling short last night, but the positives that you may have seen and where it's trending for the next 15 games, big picture stuff.
Well, I think most people want the playoffs to start tomorrow, right? And they won't. So I think that you want to create good habits, maintain good habits, maintain home ice if you can. They're the defending Stanley Cup champions last night. I thought Sheldon Keefe had a good point just about, they can beat you 6-2, but also they can play pretty good defense as well. And even though the Leafs didn't get a lot of shots on them, you're hanging tough with the defending Stanley Cup champions. I think there's kind of that sorting out process about the new guys in town. Like every now and then you'll get a game like last Saturday, and that was just off the charts exciting. Mitch Marner was off the charts exciting. I mean, it's not new. It was more novel the first year that Mitch and Austin and them were in town, but it still was great to be entertained that way. So obviously concerned about, I know it's one game, but a 2-0 lead at home against the Buffalo Sabres, the sloppy lack of commitment, the Sheldon saying they were tired in the second period. I thought he was accurate. I mean, and Kippy and Justin, that sometimes, mentally you do get worn down. I mean, it doesn't make sense that you weren't playing back-to-backs or anything like that. And so, certainly the trade deadline deals checked all the boxes. So I'm just hoping, like everybody else is, that whatever kind of ride, because I saw great rides by the Ottawa Senators to end the regular season, and then the Leafs kicked their ass in the first round. I've seen that. So I don't quite often know. I think I always think it's a good thing to end the season on a regular season on a high, but it's kind of an imperfect science if you look at past playoff histories.
Well, and looking at the Leafs' past playoff history, one of their issues has been they haven't scored enough goals in the big games. There are moments this year where I feel like it hasn't been the same as past years where they have looked a little bit offensively challenged. And I'm not sure that that's true when it comes to their elite guys necessarily, but what comes behind them is always the big question. Do you feel like they're better equipped to score in the playoffs now by adding some guys that kind of get to the hard areas, or do you have concerns about their ability to score against good teams?
Well, Justin, that's the problem. Like, I don't even remember anyone getting goals. I don't remember like third or fourth line. I know they did, but I don't remember that over the last 3, 4, 5 years. It doesn't jump out at me. And I can remember, whether it's Nick Paul or guys like that, or Corey Perry or, whomever over the last few years. So they've changed the mix up a little bit, or with Achari and Lafferty and that, but you don't have McCabe anymore. You don't have Engvall anymore. But they didn't come up with big goals either, even though Engvall's doing okay right now with the Islanders. So, somebody's got to do it. I mean, it's like everyone's been like Alex Kerfoot. That's sort of been the prototypical kind of playoff performance by someone of that ilk. I'm not putting it on him singularly, but they got to come up with those goals. They have to come up with depth. You can't be remembering a horrid Galchenyuk giveaway. Why was it not a Galchenyuk goal, like a Nicky Borshevsky goal, in Game 7, that kind of thing? So they can't be worse equipped, Justin. I mean, that's my one point. They can't, because you're right about it. This high-powered scoring machine has had trouble too many times in the playoffs.
I'm just wondering, Gord, like last night, is that an example of what's coming up, that if Mitch Marner, Tavares, Matthews, and Nylander don't put up the numbers, you don't win. It's that simple. And I mean, at some point, if that trend continues, do you not ask Kyle and Sheldon to look in the mirror and say, hey, listen, that's the way you set it up. That's the way you constructed your salary cap. Why should you be that surprised at the results?
Yeah, I mean, and again, of course, last night, if you get Morgan Rielly scoring more like 20 goals a season, I'm not that you expect him to be the difference maker, but I think he may be the keyest leaf about which Morgan Rielly shows up in the playoffs. But to answer your question, Kippy, I think that that's a real good point, because from the word go, that's where the money has been exclusively put. I mean, you look at Buffalo, they've got 2 number 1 overall picks, and they're both defensemen. So as they develop along, there's a little bit of balance about their Tage Thompsons versus others. But, it's kind of been, I mean, that was the name of their documentary, All or Nothing, right? When they did the 24/7 type thing a couple of years ago. And unfortunately, it's always been nothing. And it's always been disappointing in the critical game. I mean, last year was a real good Game 7 battle, but, and then, Justin, you made that point about like Freddie Anderson's best performance was against Columbus, right? But Columbus won 1-0, and Freddie let a soft goal in. It just, but he played great. It just seems like every playoff game and series, that's what marks a player like, say, Freddie, who had a really great regular season career with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but he's kind of the poster guy for it not happening in the playoffs. But Kippy, like to your point, yeah, if it happens again, you're kind of saying, man, oh man, you got a real limited budget. Not that money always is the deciding factor on abilities, and whatever it is every year, they can't come up with any offense whatsoever. Should you be surprised?
I was thinking, they should really have lines in place and everything sort of settled for the last, call it 10 games, at least 5 games or whatever. But you'd sure love to be up enough points on Tampa Bay to give a couple of guys an extra day off here or there. Are you ready to see them go to 12-6, pick some lines, try some lines instead of this? I don't know. It's been a blender since the trade deadline.
Yeah, and let's face it, Sheldon doesn't like it either, even though he keeps pointing to the Tampa Bay example. But, Tampa Bay and Edmonton kind of have a setup in that regard, how they do it. But with Toronto, it's never really been the case. And I think it's important to figure out those pairings, like who's going to be with who. And then, obviously, just when O'Reilly got hurt in that Vancouver game, they're going to that Tavares didn't agree to go on the wing for the rest of the season. It's one that it gives them an option, and maybe kind of a different option if they need some offense to kind of go with the 2 power lines. But they've also done that in the past, and when they have those guys out for 25 minutes, and Tampa Bay threw out more balanced lines and ultimately won it. So I want to see the 12-6. Because also in the playoffs, if your stud D are playing really well, you don't even really need 60. Like you play the crap out of your top 4D. They generally get more minutes. So I know right now there's some injuries up front. They got a ton of defensemen quantity-wise right now. So he's just trying to get some ice time for all of them. And the quantity is great if they need the depth, but I don't like the 11. I don't like the 11-7. I don't really think Sheldon likes it either.
Are you okay with $12.5 million between Brody and Morgan Rielly as being your best pair moving forward?
Well, it doesn't. There's no cachet like Victor Hedman or no one or no tandem like McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm in the division. I mean, Brody's been a nice free agent pickup. Morgan Rielly, I mean, that was the going rate. He's been the Morgan Rielly when he's on his game. That's just a notch below Norris Trophy consideration. I'm talking like the top dozen after that. But also, I think that's key. I mean, that's the $6 million whatever it is question, Kipper, about you can't just be Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Tavares, whatever. them being the four coming through. It's the depth scoring, but also the D making a difference. And, with the other elite teams in the Atlantic Division, I mean, they got real strong D and they got real depth D, and we're hoping the Toronto Maple Leafs have that.
Do you feel like the Tampa Bay Lightning struggle should give the Leafs some hope here? Like, I haven't seen the Lightning look like this. They're like 15th in the NHL in goals against. They're reeling. I know they beat New Jersey a couple nights ago, but 3 wins in their last 10. Gord, is it changing how you view this first round matchup?
Well, I've always viewed it that I don't know why we come up with the instant excuses in Toronto that, oh no, they're going to play Tampa Bay. And I say I don't want to keep beating past playoffs to death, but they had Montreal and Columbus that were set up in their favor, and that didn't happen. So you just got to beat those teams, right? And again, I go back to Kippy's run. Like you got to win against really good or great teams, and Tampa Bay is a year older. Okay, the Leafs are a year more in their prime with their big players, except for Tavares. The others are in that real prime sweet spot, one year deeper. Where on the other side, it's not like Tampa Bay got old all of a sudden, but it's a little bit of a difference. And every year they've had to lose somebody for cap reasons. So they've done a great job keeping it all together. But every year you kind of chip away at it. I also think it's got to be exhausting having been to the final the last 3 seasons in a row, not just physically but mentally. So I think they're ripe for the taking. So I'm with you. Like I know the argument right now is, I don't worry about Tampa Bay. They're going to be fine, and I understand that to a degree. But I'm seeing they're a little bit more for the taking than the team last year or the year before, and that's not meant as a criticism. That's just the reality. That's just the way it works in professional sports and teams. Little by little, some of that attrition starts adding up and becomes a difference maker. And, more and more I'm finding that in the Maple Leafs' favor when you just handicap it.
How much more beatable is Tampa if you have home ice advantage? There's a part of us all season long that said Tampa won't care until Justin tells me that they're the second best team at home with 24, 6 and 5. Compared to 16-1 on the road. You can't tell me for 1 second Cooper doesn't care.
Well, and it comes down to big time. It also comes down to last shifts and last change, and the Maple Leafs have more with O'Reilly there as far as the 3 lines that they'll be able to throw out to use that last change. There's more ability and depth, and you know what, Kippy? Psychologically, to have it all year long. Like here we're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning and the fact that they haven't been the Tampa Bay Lightning of old, but they're once again they're making ground on the Toronto Maple Leafs. So to have home ice advantage all season long and then to lose it at the wire, I would find discouraging. But again, nothing should be an excuse. But no question, you want home ice advantage, and that is a goal that they should keep these last 15 or so games.
Maybe it had something to do with us watching Mitch Marner play 30 minutes last night.
Yeah, well, could be. But I think again, Sheldon Keefe's been around long enough, so I don't know about trying different things. In some ways, you want to see what you can try and what you have and what works. But on the other thing, like Justin said, don't you at some point just want to get things set, get in a groove, and have that kind of deployment, whether it's what the lines are, what the minutes played are, like an element of consistency.
So what do you think comes of Luke Schenn? We talked earlier in the show here about where his sort of fit is. Is he going to be a guy who's a steady part of the 6 here? How do you see the D pair shaken out here? It looks to me like Rielly and Brody will end up back together.
I would think so. I wonder what they were thinking in acquiring them all. Like Luke is, as we know, well, he's gone deep in the playoffs, right? So they got that experience. That's always an intangible. They know about his character. They know he can be physical, which is something pretty well everyone they've added has a little bit of that sandpaper, acknowledging that it's a good thing. So I don't know whether he'd be who's going to be your 6. There's about 4 of them that could be your 6 in the playoffs, but he just gives you something different. And I like to pick up at the end of the day. He'd be a spot player. I mean, he was one of the 7 for Tampa Bay, when they had the 7D. So I think it's just a little bit more of that, that physicality, that team thing, the guy that will do whatever it is for the team and kind of like a fourth line forward, except on the D-core.
We had a conversation about Samsonov and the responsibility of having Matt Murray ready just in case. How long of a leash would Samsonov have? This is trending towards Samsonov. You on board on all of the things I just said?
Yeah. I don't like the leash thing either. Like, it's like, hey, the person's in. It's not like, oh, they're in, but they're on a short leash. What the hell is that? Okay, just hey, he's been the best goalie of the two. It's an imperfect science to try to figure out how they could do in the playoffs because they don't have the history of, say, Vasilevsky or, way back when Curtis Joseph, Ed Belfour, about that kind of confidence about who was starting in goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's the big question mark. It's the big question mark about that taking on Tampa in the first round and anybody else after that. Obviously, hey, Jordan Binnington did it a few years ago that, he could be the difference maker for the Blues, and Matt Murray did it, 7 years ago? He could be the difference maker for the Penguins when it wasn't expected. So that's what you got to hope. I mean, and you mentioned earlier about, depth scoring. Haven't had a goaltender steal a game in the playoffs. Like the playoffs, quite often, 1 or 2 games a series is the goaltender is the difference. And I think there's been almost zero of that for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It doesn't mean the goaltender hasn't played well, but just those different ways to win a game. Like winning a game is huge. Making the difference to win a game, that is huge when you only have to win 4, and you could win one with a goaltender almost stealing it, and you can win one with depth scoring. I mean, that's a huge burden instead of having to win 4 with your 4 forwards dominating offensively.
It is. So last one for me, just want to get your thoughts on that Avalanche team and where they're at heading into the postseason. We kind of agree that they're the best team in the West. Is Dallas or Vegas or Edmonton or any of those other teams out there do it for you? Do you think there's a better team than Colorado out West?
I don't know how this happened, Justin, that seemingly overnight, the lack of being impressed by Western Conference teams. Like, I don't know where it all came from because you're right. I mean, Dallas, Winnipeg were sitting pretty, and then Winnipeg's sitting in a very opposite place right now. The Pacific Division's been all over the place. So it's just, Colorado is certainly to me is the best in a much weaker Western Conference. But, a team like whether it's Los Angeles, whomever, there could be a surprise there. And again, it goes down to goaltending. If a goaltender makes a difference in one playoff round, you could get an upset there. But, I don't worry about the Colorado Avalanche. They seem to have a relatively easy path to the final. I mean, their big thing was to get by the second round, much like the Leafs monkey on their back is to get by the first round. So once the Avalanche did that last year, that they went all the way. And I keep saying it. I think if the Leafs get by the first round to win the Stanley Cup, that's my prediction. But I really do. I think it's that. I think it's that monumental they could do it. But the other part is, man, there's a lot of great teams in the East. Like just the balance the last little while has swung over mightily as far as the East goes. But Colorado, I expect to be there. Edmonton will be an interesting team, but Colorado still, they're the champs.
Gord, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you your thoughts on the big afternoon from Furman.
Hey, you know what? I had it on there. I couldn't believe it. 13 against 4, right? It's we got a friend whose kids goes to Princeton, so they're playing at 4:10 p.m. That's a 15 against 2. But it just shows why. I mean, it's a one game, right, compared to a best 4 out of 7. But just like the World Juniors has a certain chemistry, certain mix that works in hockey. Boy, that March Madness does as well. And Kippy, I think that wasn't Furman one of the colleges that rejected you.
It's a safe
First of all, I couldn't give a crap what you really thought of Furman. I just wanted to know if you knew where it was.
It was on TV this afternoon.
He nailed it.
What state are they from?
I don't know. Just kidding.
Yeah, okay. Good. At least you proved my point. I was the third stringer
of the George Vanier Vikings with about 8 people. I remember when 8 guys fouled out and we were in overtime and Mr. Klink looked and realized I was the only guy on the bench to go in. And he goes, just pass it to Donnie Campbell. I was so nervous, right? I was on a short leash.
Nice drop in for George Vanier. You were expelled, right, from there?
I was no, but when I was on the bench so much that for a while, I had my wrist taped to look like I was injured, just to look a little better, right?
You're like Ralph Mouth in Happy Days where he's playing basketball and then he takes his tracksuit off and he's got regular clothes and he goes, "What? I never play."
It was, it was a character builder, put it that way, as far as that. So I'll do more fervent research for what I talk to you next time as well.
Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for doing this.
Okay,
Electricity at its finest.
Thanks, Gordo.
On the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Good on him.
Yeah.
That means he's really got nothing else to do.
No, that's fine. No,
Watching the basketball game this
soaking
afternoon.
it in.
Oh, we were doing the same thing. So.
I was just also watching Marc-Andre Fleury. The Minnesota Wild shared the audio of Fleury trying to fight Binnington last night.
All right, and Binnington has been suspended.
Oh, he has?
2 games.
Really?
2 games.
Yeah, you can't blocker people. That's a weapon. You're not allowed to throw blockers anymore. That was your day, Kyper.
Okay, now
You eat a blocker.
What did we really think of like the brush?
Do you want to do it now? Because I do feel like it's an interesting topic.
We'll probably we don't have enough time, do
I've
we?
got real thoughts on this.
Do we have
Yeah, let's save it for post.
We got Sid after the break.
When Gordo says the Leafs in the Stanley Cup in the same sentence, you can tell how beaten down I am because I literally a chill went up and down my spine.
Did he predict last year a Stanley Cup win or this year?
This year. I can't when I hear
he's not bailing on it.
When I hear him say that, I'm like I do a couple Hail Marys.
It just feels wrong.
No, it just feels so wrong. What would happen if they did?
Well, that's the thing that makes you kind of.
That's what we've all dreamt.
They would take us out of this oval in here,
Right.
I think, and they would
When
let
you
us.
put that-
Would we be at the game calling stuff or what?
When you put that uniform on, that's your first thought. Like, I got a chance now. To do
That's why
something.
all these guys are coming here lately, being like, maybe I'll be a part of the group that does it.
I don't even. Then what would we talk about if they won? I have this fear. I've always had this fear that a big part of them, the passion that unites us all is.
Did he cuss?
We're close. 2 checks wins.
No,
today.
I didn't cuss. I
You
wasn't even
cussed
close.
yesterday,
It did. I took a swing.
which I'm shocked. Like
The
you're-
true.
Thanks for making me dump.
The true
Sorry.
passion that gives us all together, that unites us all, is the passion of whining about the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's been part of the identity of the fabric here.
It's been something that I've been able to crap on them about and lean on, just like conversation. Damn
the
Leafs.
Leafs.
It's like, grumble, 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 grumble. It's been like, and if they won, it's like Roger Lajoie's great joke. He said if they won the cup the next day, somebody would be calling in wondering what the power play was going to look like the next year.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know what the hell.
There's people like that,
Got a
though. They
little-
wouldn't even know how to act if they had a good day. Every day is like, blah, 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 blah.
Nah, listen, 54 years
Yeah.
in New York.
And listen,
for
the Cubs
us.
did it. The Red Sox did it.
So, Sammy will talk about defending.
The problem with the Cubs and the Red Sox doing it is I think they were both at 100 years, which means you're not guaranteed.
What do we
the
at?
54? No,
No,
that
what
was
do we
the
have for the
Rangers.
Leafs now?
57 or something. I don't know. Was it 67?
Closing on 60.
Yeah.
I
Whatever the math is on that.
I just, I remember when the Cubs won and it was like that shared, you look at another fan base who hasn't won in forever and you look and it's like, oh, that could happen. And I watched the video of all the old Cubs fans and there's a guy in his recliner with a blanket up to his neck being like, my God, they did it. Don't let me be that.
Like Newsy Lalone.
Don't let me be that. Let me be able to walk when they win the cup. Can that happen?
Need to
All
be
right.
able to climb a lamppost.
Keep your Jordan Binnington thoughts fresh because we're going to take a break and then we're going
What
to
a
come
guy.
back to Sportsnet legend.
Oh.
Do we have a hockey or not a Sportsnet Hall of Fame? Is Sid in it?
We do now, and Sid's the honor and the first inductee.
Okay.
I think you might. I think both you guys are first ballot Hall of Famers in my book.
You too, pal. All of
All right. Sid Seixeiro, host of Breakfast Television. We've just stretched out his day a little longer on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Back after these words. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance on Spotify or iTunes. Back after these words.
Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Ready to make his world debut on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. Let's welcome in Sportsnet legend Sid Seixeiro, who is now like all-world morning guy. It's not bad.
I remember this time slot. I remember this time slot. What's going on, boys? Can you imagine, Kyper, if you texted me this morning and was like, can you jump on? And considering how many times you've been on breakfast television, and considering how many times Justin Bourne's been on breakfast television, what if I said, yeah, I'm busy, I can't do it? Like, what a move.
You know what?
What a move.
You know what put me over the top? I'm like, okay, why hasn't he been on our show, first of all? But I'm watching you today, and you're on breakfast TV, and you're trying to give away like $3,000. And if they answer the phone a certain way, they get $3,000. It's that simple.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm watching Sid. Is that what's the magic words?
I wake up with BT.
Yeah,
Thank
whatever.
you very much,
Okay.
Kyper. Every day after 8 o'clock,
All right.
live on breakfast television, we give away money. Thank you for the promo. Appreciate it.
So 2 calls in, they're both like, hello. And then Sid's like, hey, what's your name? And then the guy goes, you called me.
You're supposed to know,
like,
pal.
Why? Who? This is creepy, pal.
We're trying to set it up as best we can, and my guy flips it on me live on air, and I'm like, it's a valid point. I'm calling you.
I had a very good laugh this morning, thanks to you.
I appreciate it. But someone in that house, for the record, did sign up for the contest. We just didn't pull my guy's name out of thin air
Okay.
and bother him first thing in the morning while he's in a fog. Like, we were trying to give you like $3,000. Sorry to wake you up. Go back to sleep.
So you've been kind enough to have us on occasion to talk a little Leafs, a little bit of hockey here. How much do you miss it?
I don't miss August 8th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, trying to get through the year when nothing's happening.
I don't miss the moment where, and listen, it happens for every NHL team, so I'm not picking on the Leafs, but like when Tim and I are doing 2 and 3 hours a day and you guys are doing 2 hours a day on the Real Kyper and Bourne show, there is going to be that moment where a course correction has to happen in your daily discourse. And you guys know what it's like. When you get in that rhythm, and Sam knows behind the glass, anyone who does sports radio knows, when you get in that rhythm of you're in the same mode every day, whether it's Leafs playoffs, Raptors playoffs, Jays opening month, it's all muscle memory.
Yeah.
And what I don't miss is when the Leafs get bounced, we're all like, okay, when's locker clean out? I don't miss that. But there are those certain days where I'm like, I still miss it. Like, there are those certain days where it's like, this is the thing everyone's talking about, and all you want to be is on a microphone like Kyper and Bourne. And those are the days where it's like, throw the lineup out and let's go for 2 hours. I do miss those days.
We were just talking before. Go ahead, Sid. Sorry.
No, sorry. August 8th is not one of those days.
No, there's a whole month there around that August 8th, which is not an enjoyable time. We were talking before you were on about Sammy was giving us what would happen if the Leafs ever won. And, God, would that be lovely for us to be on the mic. So we haven't had you on and to get your chance, a general overview about how you feel about this Leafs team compared to the ones that you commented on for so many years with your pal Tim.
Okay, I'm going to do something weird. I'm going to start positive.
Okay. Whoa.
Yes, I'm changing here. This is the best Leafs team I've seen since 2004.
Ooh.
Does anyone in the room disagree with that?
Not I.
Who's their goalie again?
Ferguson? I don't know.
Well, I mean, they won a series that year. Was it not Belfour?
Yeah, it was Sammy
Belfour.
It went from
Belfour.
Cujo to Belfour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
pretty
they
good
still had some
goalie.
rhythm. Yeah, they had the remnants of 2002 still there. Wasn't the exact same team, but they had Pat behind the bench, rest his soul, and they were still a team that could grind you out if they needed to with some skill. And I see a team that can grind you out better than they used to be able to with a ton of skill. I rarely do this, but I will defend a lot of Leaf fans who've been complaining about this playoff system for a long time, coming off that ridiculous comment Gary Bettman made yesterday.
Right.
Because this is no longer a fan issue. This is no longer a commentator issue where you guys are on the mic giving your takes on this playoff format. You have future Hall of Famers in your league, Gary, who think this playoff format's garbage. So what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
This is no longer a fan or blogger or troll comments. This is Crosby and McDavid. So what are you going to do?
Nothing.
Nothing. Now, I know what Gary's thinking. Gary's thinking the longer the NBA playoffs go, we get destroyed in the ratings, so we got to front load our stuff. I get it. I understand it. You want ESPN and TNT to have all that air before the first round of the NBA playoffs get going. I get it. But this is ridiculous, and the Leafs deserve a better draw than this. I'm not saying they're scared, but every team in that division, every team in that part of the league deserves better. Now, with that said, does it not feel to you guys like there's just one thing missing per game? If it's not the offense, then Murray has to be better, and maybe 7D isn't working. It's not like a bunch of things that are off every night, regardless of result. But it's like the one thing. And we're less than a month out from the start of the real thing. And last night felt like it again. I thought they played a really smart hockey game, a good hockey game. Penalties aside late. But they don't feel like the snare drum's been tightened yet. Am I wrong?
There's tweaking for sure. We've talked about the lines, and I'd like to see a more result-driven power play at the right time. I get where they are in the standings with it. I get all of that. It just seems when they need a big goal, it doesn't look as crisp as the Edmonton Oilers.
No, damn, that's a fun team. Few teams do look as crisp. But my main two angles here are as follows. First, I know the regular season is kind of plodding along for this team and the fan base because of the format, and it's what it is. But it's meant something to Murray, and it's meant something to Samsonov. And I think the regular season has to mean something. Mm-hmm. And there was no one on that bench or that Leafs front office who can make the argument Matt Murray starts game one. He doesn't deserve it.
Right.
He doesn't deserve it.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like a Dubas thing where it's almost like there are some decisions that are made with a little bit of we want to be proven right by some decisions we've made, and whether that be bringing Murray in or Kerfoot hanging around from the Kadri trade or Justin Holl. There are some things that people find curious, and I understand there are ways to defend them, and I've defended a few of them. But there does seem to be, at the end of the day, that Keefe and Dubas want to be the ones standing there and saying, we told you.
Well, now that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because then this slowly moves more towards the direction of this is all about Kyle. Like, I'm really worried about this. How you bring a GM on no term on the back end of this year, I'm not really sure. I still don't understand what that was about.
Do you think at some point between September and where he is today that there's enough warranted for, maybe not a 5-year contract, but maybe an extension of a year and an option maybe? I don't know.
Look, based on regular season record for both Sheldon and Kyle, I think we can all have the legitimate discussion that they deserve way more time than the next month. I think the stats bear that out. And you're going to find, regardless of what happens in that Tampa series, you guys know this better than anyone, there's going to be the Kyle defenders. There's going to be people that look at the analytics and look at that regular season record and say, and they're the victim of a bad playoff format, yada, yada, yada. They're going to exist. But the fact that he has no deal tells me that if they don't beat Tampa, he better go into that meeting with MLSC with more than just some analytics. Because I think there are some serious people in this company who are pissed off and paid a lot of money for hockey rights and know full well what the revenue is like if the Toronto Maple Leafs are in a conference final on a Saturday night. And they haven't gotten any of that. Now, no, hockey fans don't usually like to talk in those parameters, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And those are the guys running the ship over at MLSE, essentially. So I don't think it's fair necessarily, but this is a big month for Kyle Dubas. Big month. And if his pride gets in the way, Justin, and I don't completely disagree with where you're at with this. If his pride gets in the way with Matt Murray, and if Sheldon Keefe's pride gets in the way with Matt Murray, they're sunk. You want a competition, tell them both, go out there. Whoever loses 2 in a row is out of the crease.
Yeah.
Sometimes we overthink this. You want a competition, let them have it. Let them have it. Especially when the real first starts to fly against Tampa.
So would it be enough? Would it be enough, Sid, if let's say it doesn't work out for them? Would it be enough to say, okay, we've moved on from Kyle and maybe even from Sheldon, and we're going to go back with this group? If they can't win with this group, at what point do you turn that attention inward and say, okay, this core can't get it done?
I mean, well, let's talk. That's a good segue. So let's talk about the core. Mm-hmm. Because I am no longer in a place where I'm criticizing Austin Matthews for anything. I don't care what this first round looks like. Played most of the year hurt. And I'm no longer in a place in my life where I'm criticizing Mitch. I don't care what that first round looks like.
Okay. Can I just...
Go ahead, jump in.
I'm just saying that 99% of Leaf fans will blame them. That's what they do. They automatically go to the highest paid guys. They didn't get it done. They will take all the heat. It ain't going on Yarncroc and Kerfoot.
Well, I'm not. Well, that's not where I hear you. Some fans will knee-jerk that. But I think we're going to enter a new phase in this if it goes the other way, if the Leafs don't get it done. Like, I really want to see John Tavares in that series. Because John Tavares, let's remember, last postseason, the narrative legit came up, and people weren't flinching that during that series, John Tavares all of a sudden became an $11 million center who wasn't a real center. And we're not talking about it. Morgan Rielly's played 39 career playoff games. What's his plus minus, guys? I'm no genius. I looked it up an hour ago. Do you know what his plus minus is in the postseason, Morgan Rielly?
No, but I'm guessing not a plus.
+1.
Okay. Oh, I was wrong.
Still, though, like it gets you into the weekend of the Players' Championship.
Barely.
But is that Makar? Is that Hedman? Is that a beast that's going to play you 30 postseason games in 1 year at 25 to 30 minutes a night? Morgan Rielly is one of the nicest guys I've come across in the game.
Yeah, we're all nice.
But he's skated, pun unintended, he skated on a lot of this.
Yeah.
And you could dress 8 defensemen. I don't care how many defensemen you dress. If he doesn't step up in a major way and stop the look around what's going on Morgan Rielly thing and maybe learn how to play with someone else not named Brody, where's this team going? I just think there are guys on the roster who haven't faced it the way Nylander and Austin and Mitch have faced it. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they've been perfect, but those guys are elite players and some of the most talented Leafs I've ever seen.
Yeah. And
I'm not going down that road again with those guys.
If they're not ready this year, then you're never going to be ready because they're all having career years, with the exception of Austin. And this is it. This is make it or break it time. And if Kyle's not here, someone's going to come in and sell the fact that that recipe doesn't work. Somebody's got to go.
They're already circling. Like how many? I've seen Bruce Boudreau more now than when he was working for the Canucks. Bruce is circling that organization. There are people looking at that roster going, "Don't screw up. Don't Sheldon, don't screw up. Kyle, don't screw up. Don't let me get my hands on it."
So what's the bar for their success, Sid? Like if they win a round, are they over the bar?
Yeah, I think Kyle gets 3 years. Yeah. Do you guys think he gets 3 years? I think he gets 3 years.
It's interesting. I think so. You win one round.
I think it's
in
a
all honesty,
ridiculous discussion to have, but I think that's where it's at.
It's a great feat to get by Tampa this year for sure. I'm not underestimating that. But can I see how they look in the second round?
He just gets shelled 4-0.
Okay. I like where you're going. So they win in 6 against Tampa and get swept by Boston. Is the mood the same?
No, it's not. It's not. It's like you're not close to getting to a conference final or a Stanley Cup final. You're not there. So, anyways, listen, there's no question that you have not missed a beat here on the Leafs, and on top of your world issues and solving every problem for the city of Toronto and bartending this morning, man, you're right on the money with the Leafs, eh?
Look, man, you can't. I can't quit them. I can't quit them.
You're like cigarettes.
I'm like Ben Affleck smoking outside with that look on my face.
Leafs are just as bad for your health.
But
really appreciate your time, Sid. Thanks for doing this.
You guys are killing it, man. I love your show. Keep
Thanks,
going.
Man.
Thanks,
Sid
Sid.
Seixeiro, host of Breakfast Television.
What a guy.
And still a closet Leaf.
He's like Marner. He can control the pace of play, it's like all of a sudden I forgot I was on the show and I was just listening to him.
He should be doing this.
Yeah, I was like, I should ask him a question.
Wish at times you get a little bit more opinionated.
He should be doing this.
He's on for 10 minutes. He's like, yeah, Tavares and Rielly and Dubas, and yeah, he's got takes, boy.
I think
takes are okay.
But he nailed the Morgan Rielly thing, and I think he hasn't taken it on the chin like the top guys have, and I think we're feeling it with him for the first time ever this year, right? Like I don't think we've ever felt it, and like you mentioned it a couple days ago that you'd never seen it coming, Kyper. Like I didn't think this was really coming either, and it's arrived for Morgan.
Yeah. It has.
There's always been like there's always been an undercurrent, a certain part of the fan base that hasn't loved him.
A grimy subculture of it.
Yes, it's always been there. But I think it's bubbled to the top now with everyone.
I know, but I think people have to at least be honest when they assess Morgan, that he is not your typical like grade A #1 defenseman. There's a reason why the Leafs got him for 7.5.
Mm-hmm. And
he was not in and there was a few coming down the pike here on 9+. Werwinski, Seth Jones, and they're like
Darnell Nurse.
Yeah,
Riley's in that group to me.
For sure.
See, I don't have him.
Well, Werwinski or Seth Jones?
No. Yeah, he is. Yeah. But they don't belong at 9.5.
Okay, that's a fair point. There's 7.5 guys.
There's 7.5 guys too.
Yeah. But that is his tier. I agree.
It is, but it's not Hedman and it's not Makar.
No, and if I'm Morgan Rielly and I'm the third mic here, I'm like, I know. That's why I'm paid 7.5 instead of 12.
So people should just calm down on what his capabilities are for carrying a team some nights or carrying the blue line. That's all. And I wrote about him today. And the first thing I said is like, you got to make sure you're comparing apples to apples here.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit of a victim of circumstance, right? In terms of like it reminds me.
Phil Kessel goes to Pittsburgh and he's the third best player and he wins a cup and he fits perfect.
Phaneuf too, where it's like he was the #1 guy here. He gets traded to Ottawa and he's playing, second, third line minutes, paired minutes, and they make a run to the conference final. He's scoring OT winners against Boston Bruins. Like it's a missed I defended Dion Phaneuf. I lost 4 to 5 years of my life defending Dion Phaneuf. When my number one take was always that, like, he's miscast. He's in the wrong scenario. Like, he should never have been given the captaincy and been the number one guy. There's a little bit of that conversation with Morgan Rielly, too, in terms of, like, what his capabilities are.
Yeah.
Like, he's experienced the whipping boy status for the first time, and he could put it all away
And
with a couple rounds win and him playing well.
Again, I stand by what I said with McCabe. I like McCabe. He's perfect for what they were looking for. But he's not a guy that can alleviate the pressure off of Morgan Rielly.
No.
Orlov would have been that guy. If they wanted to go a little higher on an upgrade, Chychrun would have been that guy.
I wonder if you said to 32 GMs in the league and said, don't worry about caps, contracts, whatever. You can have Morgan Rielly or Dmitry Orlov. How many take which guy? Like, what's the split on that, do you think?
Orlov.
You think 32 GMs want Orlov over Rielly? Because I don't.
Over Rielly?
Yeah.
That's a no.
No.
No, I think maybe 2012 Rielly.
Listen, I mean, Orlov plays hard. He's capable. I haven't watched enough Orlov to honestly tell you whether he's better than Morgan or not.
Right.
But I just think that the upside on an Orlov to alleviate some pressure off of Morgan would have been better than McCabe.
Yeah, you'd rather see them
the guy
go
that
harder on D.
The guy I've watched a lot, and I watched a ton of Oilers just because they're so fun to watch. But, like, God, that Ekholm, I was dreaming about Ekholm for 2 years, talking to you guys about him being on the Leafs and them circling him. And then he got traded.
I think McCabe was the better gamble than, well, I mean, I love Ekholm, I do. But the upside on McCabe is better
and the price
than Ekholm and the contract.
The price they got him for.
And the price.
I know.
I see Kyle where he went there, but Ekholm can't do what Jacob Chychrun can do.
No. Jacob Chychrun is, but I think we have to go back to the conversation about how, you talk about the cap. I mean, it's all this stupid conversation that we would not have to have without the cap. But, like, they weren't going to take any money back. So it's like you had to take the whole boat, and the Leafs just weren't going to do that. So you kind of took them out of the race, right? And they got not a very good package for him in the end. So
how about the Armstrong comments on Chychrun the other day?
But I do love McCabe.
Yes.
I do love McCabe.
Which comments? Did I miss those?
Yeah, he was on, I think, Strick's podcast in St. Louis there, and he said, basically, we wanted to trade Chychrun for a year and a half. He said he was awful last year. He was awful last
Bill
year.
Armstrong.
Bill Armstrong.
Yeah, I caught that.
He was awful last year, and then he was hurt for 8 months. So, we couldn't retain money. So, what do you want me to do? That's basically what he said.
Yeah. I just think even with the addition of McCabe, Morgan still feels the pressure of, okay, where's my lane to jump in? Last night it worked out great, right? He comes in, Mitch finds him, he gets time to make his shot, he makes it, it's all good. But I think that there's constant times where Morgan's like,
caught in the middle.
I've got to do more. I look at the blue line. Giordano's not jumping in on a play.
Yeah.
Brody's not. Holl's not.
McCabe seems to a little.
Listen, it's too bad he couldn't finish that play.
Yeah.
So close.
It would have gained him a ton of confidence.
For sure. I thought the same thing.
Could have rolled
been big
a little
for him.
bit. Maybe he'll get it on Friday. Yeah. Maybe he'll get it on the weekend. But is it going to be consistent enough to help Morgan? We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Morgan, that first shot he had that hit the post, that's like the hardest I've ever seen him shoot a puck. He split the puck in two on the crossbar.
Yeah.
Went flying like back into the neutral zone. He hit it so hard.
That's nice.
It was a nice snapper.
Yeah, real nice.
All right. We promised Jordan Binnington comment to you. You got some thoughts and ideas. Of course, Ryan Hartman came through the net on a goal, right?
Yeah. So Blues are up 3-1. 4 minutes later, they're down 4-3. Binnington gets scored on. Down 4-3. Hartman scores to make it 5-3, and on the way by clips him.
Did that shorten his wick a little bit? You think?
I think he's a frustrated goalie at that point, and Hartman gives him a little clip, knowing Binnington's fuse, and just set the bomb off.
And
By
Hartman,
the bomb, I mean firecracker.
Hartman's a grease bag.
Oh yeah, great grease.
He just, all he does is he pisses other teams off. He's a really gritty guy. And he was probably one of the guys that was screaming at him from the bench beforehand when he was going back. Like, they've run into each other before. Let's just say that. He's in front of the net a lot. And he knew exactly what he was doing. He flew through there. He left the leg out, and he tried to make it look like he didn't do it on purpose. Classic accidentally on purpose, like Kyper on Fuhr. Just, accidentally on purpose. And then,
that's nice. I'm just sitting here, minding my own business.
Oh, I love doing that once in a while. But yeah. And Binnington is an absolute snapshot, and he just can't help himself.
And Marc-Andre to the rescue.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody on social media we just missed the fight of the year. Like, let him go. Let him go. And this is the sound out of Marc-Andre Fleury last night.
Hey, let's go. Let's go. No, let's go.
No. Let him go.
No. He always goes with everybody. He always fights everybody, Okay. It'll be fun, Get the crowd going a bit,
Get the crowd going a bit.
I don't like having my hair like this,
He wants to go in his helmet, doesn't like his hair.
The Flowers.
He always wants to fight someone, he
Flowers
says.
going WWE.
Have you seen the Flowers junior fights? 2 junior fights, hung in there, threw some bombs. He's fought before.
I think he had his nose broken.
Oh, really? He did well in the fights I saw. Maybe he took one in there, but he wasn't down there pretending like Binnington pretends to want to fight people. He was down there to fight Binnington, who I believe has 0 fights in his.
I think his agent, Alan Walsh, sent out a tweet saying that they had a conversation once, and he's like, when he gets to the NHL, I want to do 3 things. I want to score a goal, I want to have a fight, and win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And then
got some work on the
And then he
checklist.
got into a fight, and he's like, no, maybe I should just work on scoring a goal and winning a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, like Binnington. So Binnington gets suspended. Our boy Steve Dangle had a funny tweet about how, before the suspension came down, that sometimes the Department of Player Safety just hands out like a lifetime idiot award. I forget what he called it.
Achievement award?
A lifetime a lifetime achievement suspension, he called it. Yeah. And it is. And it's like, you've been a donkey for long enough. We've all seen enough of your antics. We're sick of it. And then you can't throw a blocker. Blocker's the excuse they're looking for. You can't throw one of those. Plus your Jordan Binnington, 1 for each. There's your 2-game suspension.
No comment.
Okay.
Like Binnington because he's no one sound guy?
He won our only championship in franchise history. He was the goalie. So,
all right.
No comment.
You're passing on this topic.
No comment.
Donkey.
But that act is getting a little thin, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Very thin.
Berube was like, stop. Remember?
Yeah, Berube had comments about how he's just got to play the game.
He's like, just play the game.
I will say, to Binnington's credit, last night is a situation where he was justified in being angry. Like, he's given up a bunch in a row. He just got clipped by a guy. You can't just run in and throw a blocker. And
it was a violent act.
It was an act of violence, indeed.
The losing is the biggest factor here. If you're winning or the team's in a good position,
you can be Tuukka Rask and have a meltdown.
Would you like to hear
Bull Durham movie, right? It's like, you got fungus on your shoes. You're colorful if you're winning.
Yeah, right.
And if you're not,
you're disgusting.
You're just disgusting human being with fungus on shoes.
Would you like to hear Binnington's ranks this year among NHL goalies?
Yeah, how's he doing?
Losses, 24. That's second in the league. Goals against average, 339. 43rd in the league. Save percentage, 892. 45th in the league. Penalty minutes, 17, first.
Well, it's not good.
45th in save percentage, first in PIMS.
I'd be pissed off. Guess what? Right. I'd be throwing blockers, too, if my numbers look like that.
Well, he's also making 5 or 6 sheets for the next 6 sheets.
For how many?
3 more years? Something? They just traded away Ville Husso.
They let him go, right? Because he makes, oh my God. He makes $6 million until 26, 27.
So St. Louis has
4 more years after this.
Yep. So, so he gets a suspension. And interestingly enough, suspension's way down this year. Like, a lot of times, I feel like when I first started on Hockey Central with Merrick, I came in here every other day and it was like, what do you think of hit? What do you think? Should, how many? It was a constant suspension talk. Barely happened this year. It's like half as many suspension as previous seasons. What do you make of that? Is that just, are players cleaner now? Has this suspending worked?
They are cleaner.
Yeah.
They don't want to be suspended. They don't want to lose money.
Escrow.
The spread between the highest paid players now and the rest of the league, it's like if you're not making 10 sheets,
You're making $750.
you're making $750 a year.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose anything off my $750. I'm already giving 60% to the government. You've taken another 15, 20 off of escrow. Like I'm playing for free. You suspend me.
Yeah.
So that to me is the biggest thing is the guys are so conscientious. Whereas I got suspended a couple times. I'm like, yeah, that's the best 40 grand I could spend.
Yeah.
Because I hate that guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is.
But that's
a very real
dumb
thing.
by me. But like, I mean,
Well, but
it's just
what's
a
it
part,
worth
part,
to you?
part of doing business too sometimes.
And maybe it's part of the reason you get your next contract because you're a guy who,
Cares.
Yeah. Right. However you want to phrase it, for sure. So.
But I don't think the guys think that way. And listen, I knew I also was pigeonholed in a spot here where I had to play a certain role. Now we got guys on the fourth line who think they're first line guys just sitting and waiting.
Yeah.
So they're not putting themselves in a position to be suspended.
Right. They see the fourth line as a cue rather than, a role, just waiting their time out. Yeah, it's interesting. Either way, suspensions are down and.
Yeah. And they've sanitized the league. They don't get enough credit. When someone does something stupid, it's like, oh, we got to get it out of the game. It's out. Listen to me, people. It's out.
Yeah.
They've gotten so much out of the game. That's why they do welcome heavy hits and, they don't.
Yeah, they want to totally get rid of that salt and pepper. We need a little seasoning. Other thing on our end of show list, Ryan Reynolds, check in here. Reading some stuff on him today. We mentioned yesterday that he had sold, was part of the sale of Mint Mobile.
1.35.
And he owned, I think, 30% of that. So I think his part was worth $350 million.
So that's a good contribution, or does he expect to be part of the Sens for free still?
Well, I am curious to know, like, if the Sens cost $850 or $900, does that $350 go right back into him? Could he get himself to where he's a 50% owner of the team?
Okay. Few people have mentioned this to me is like there's always going to be a number floating out, but know one thing: we'll never know what the number is
in terms of Mint Mobile or
no.
the
I'm talking
Senators.
about value, cash value. Like there's a tendency to float out numbers that maybe behind the scenes aren't really what they appear.
Really, it's
Yeah.
interesting.
It is interesting.
Because
So
they would
is it
want
really
to
not-
inflate public
is it-
value. Well, maybe.
Is it 900 million really? Is it $1 billion? Maybe Gary can create that with billionaires right now, and maybe it's legit. But in the past, I can assure you the tendency was to massage.
Yeah, and use whatever way you look at it, estimated values or whatever, however they come up with those numbers. It's not real dollars and cents sometimes. That's interesting.
You think there's any chance Gary picks a group that doesn't include Ryan Reynolds after all of this?
No.
No
I mean,
chance.
I'd be shocked if he just straight up lost the bid. He's like the dream candidate for them.
Yeah, like Gary's telling Ryan Reynolds, yeah, go with that group over there.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, we're going to take that group over there.
would be
Hey,
wild.
Gary.
Yeah. But he did say Bettman made some comments about how he thinks that in some pockets of the media, I don't know, maybe that's us, that their franchises are undervalued. They've always been undervalued. I know that's what the commissioner of the league is going to say.
Give it a rest.
Give it a
Yeah,
rest.
Listen, Reynolds is like, you can have my name and my image and my Instagram. And I want a piece of the team. That's the negotiation.
Well, he's going to put in real millions, though. I mean, right? You don't think he's putting in
No.
$100 million?
No.
Really?
Why would you?
Well, 'cause you could
Look
own
at
a
everybody's
team
kissing his
that's-
ass. Why would you?
Okay, as a business decision, as a
I
financial
can't
investment.
see it. I can still get it for for free, or I'm providing you this worldwide image and attention, and he's going to value all of it on his reach for my involvement. It's the first play.
Mm-hmm.
Once Sammy becomes a celebrity, he's going to do so many things for a putter.
Not a putter. I have
a driver.
Driver.
Okay.
Putter.
Sammy has a Scotty Cameron.
Yeah, I have a Scotty Cameron that my uncle gave me when I was 10, and I haven't upgraded it or changed it or whatever. And if I lost that putter, I would quit golf. So
I am new to the Scotty Cameron game. I have Mr. Gillies.
Oh,
putter.
It's a great club to be.
They'll offer equity for him to be a part of Remington, right? They're going to offer him something.
That sounds, like the opposite of him putting money in.
Yeah.
You think that they're going to go to him with money?
Get ready to start watching Welcome to Ottawa.
Yeah, I guess that's going to be the sequel to Wrexham.
He'd be nuts not to ask for equity. It's not an appearance fee.
Yeah.
I want to own a chunk of the team. He'll come in as part owner.
I wonder if that'll be just as self-serving as Welcome to Wrexham was.
What an excellent show that is. You're the cynical, evil person.
Oh, how great am I?
And if they're smart, they're going to negotiate all of that in. I want 2 specials on Netflix, or I want this on. Come on, let's get creative.
Well, and what's
He's
so
still
great?
working.
You know what though? This might be one of the best things for the league, because we are dying for something behind the scenes and authentic. All or nothing. All we hear about is how the Leafs had the final cut and none of the good stuff made it to camera, and we still chew it up years later.
Just chewing on the
got
fat.
some great material off of it.
Like, we are dying. Hockey fans are dying for something.
Really?
And the Senators could use that. Yes, really.
Really?
Yes.
I thought it's kind of past now.
No. This is the documentary. Everything's a docu-series. We are going to watch the Ottawa Senators make the playoffs for the first times next year.
And Sean McKenzie's telling me that Cale Makar goes to Costco. Like,
my man.
I
knew
really
he was my
care?
man.
I like him even more now.
Do I need to know that?
Yeah,
I'd
like
like
that.
to know the NHL players a little bit better. They're the least known superstars in the league.
And you feel
among
better
leagues.
because you know that guy is human and he goes to Costco like the rest of us.
No, because if you want to cheer for him or hate him. Like Patrick Reed can go kick rocks, but he should be in every tournament I watch so I can watch him shank it into the woods and choke. And the same goes for Jordan Binnington. He's a wonderful addition to the NHL. We need him and his personality.
You need to hate him.
I called him a donkey 10 minutes ago, and it's great. He's someone I know who he is.
Well, then maybe
who's Karel Vejmelka?
So hey, call up Brad Marchand and say you haven't licked anybody lately. Come on, we need that.
We do. Brad Marchand's one of the most integral players to the NHL. He's got a personality. He's a human.
Sammy on board with that? Hating Brad Marchand again? Because everybody loves him now.
Yeah, make Brad Marchand bad again.
Yeah.
He's been rehabilitated.
Yeah.
Right?
We shall see.
Lots of good games tonight, boys.
Oh, man, that was a fast 2 hours.
Got the
Gord Stellick. And, of course, Sid Seixeiro making his Real Kyper and Bourne debut today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Give us a rating and review if you get a chance. And we're back again tomorrow to wrap everything up on Off the Rails Friday.
Finding a job in today's market